Go, go, Power Rangers.
Welcome to the Power Chamber Podcast.
The only PCP that dinos it up 4 times.
Yes, if if the Netflix one is another Dino season, I don't know what we're gonna do.
I
Or sorry,
don't
no, the
know,
Disney
dude.
Plus one. Sorry, we just kept if we go from Dino to Dino to Dino, that's three dinos in a row. I don't think we can do that.
That's true, yeah. I'm trying to think because, yeah, we've had one dino season for every era of Saban or of the Power Rangers
Yes,
so
yes, we
far
have. Yeah.
already. So, yeah, if the Disney Plus era starts with dinos, I can't be mad at
Well, I'm just
them.
saying that
They're
it's
just
such a
sticking with the
weird
formula.
thing because, well, I don't know if they should start with it just because, we've had, that has been the lasting impact of this show has been the dino stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So, would you want to start with the dinos, or would it be best for brand recognition, or do you want to start with something else? I guess it depends on what they decide to do, how they decide to make this show.
Yeah, exactly. If they're
Because if it's
starting
another,
from if they're starting from like square one and building it from the ground up as their own show, I would be into it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. Yeah, I think it would be really fun. But if it
Give me
is based off
dinos.
a Sentai, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. If it's
But
a Sentai
I
adaptation, whatever. They could go either way.
I'd be very curious because the comics very much were this idea of let's reinvent the wheel. Of it's the
Yeah.
same iconography, but they kind of took it in a more, I guess, serious direction as opposed to campy. That's kind of
Uh,
how the comics play the story.
I didn't think that MMPR was campy in the sense, you know. It's just a different type of show.
Well, yeah, no, I just mean that you watch that show now and there's a lot of 90s cheese to it.
Yeah. And I'm sure
And
you could say the same thing about Dino Thunder.
the comic and the IDW comics and also the radio play were very much more in line of well, let's kind of adapt it in this is what you thought the show was. This is what you thought the show looked like. So I'd be very curious if they took that template and decided to feed it into the Disney Plus thing.
I I don't know, dude. We've seen a lot of Power Ranger seasons over the years take their own spin
Yeah,
and miss horribly.
that's true, and that's kind of the concern because everybody when Hasbro bought the rights, everybody was like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And Beast Morphers at the beginning
Beast
started
Morphers.
off really hot,
Yeah,
and it just kind of
but
petered
they
out near the
all have
end.
this ability. I find. I'm gonna say most of the time because I remember being kind of underwhelmed with the Megaforce first episode, but
Well,
like
Megaforce
Ninja
first episode is Day of
Steel,
Dumpster.
right? Exactly. We've seen it
That
before.
is that is the template. They are literally doing just the same episode.
Dino Charge had a fantastic opening.
Yeah, it
Ninja
did.
Steel, for all of its flaws, has a decent opening.
Hmm.
Same thing with Beast Morphers. Like, man, they hit the ground running, and they set up all this intrigue. And again, I'm confused about the whole multi-dimensional stuff. Like that, it feels like it bogs them down a little bit when they hyper
Well,
focus
I
on it and
think
they try to make it like a huge thing. It's like it doesn't tell your own story for the love of God.
well, there's two parts to that. So Um, I find that with any story relying on time travel or interdimensional whatever, it just kind of
Sure.
overcomplicates things.
Yeah.
And that's inherent in the concept. If you buy into it or try to use it, that's kind of a thing that you have to tackle. That's going to be a roadblock for you at some point.
Not
Um,
necessarily though, because we already
that's the
introduced time
first
travel.
that's the first part. Second part is that this was a way to kind of close out the book with RPM. This is the way to give people who liked RPM the satisfactory conclusion that they needed. And I do think that thematically it does help Beast Morphers in terms of how it ends because it doesn't really succeed in any other aspect other than Steele's character.
That's what I was gonna say. Like nothing about the show is important enough to be like, oh, it's a satisfactory conclusion. Because you and I both know that's
Yeah,
not true.
yeah, no, I agree with you on that. But that's a nice segue into our discussion here, because one series that you and I both felt did not have a good first episode or a good first
Nope.
starting was Power Rangers Dino Fury.
Oh yeah,
Um,
dude. And like you said the last time, like we were still shaking off the cobwebs of how bad Ninja Steel was, which I think is why
yeah.
we didn't get into this show like gung ho when it first came out. And I
Well,
think we did.
I remember when this show came out and just seeing like all everything about it. Because I still paid attention to like news and such. So like I would kind of half listen. I wasn't watching the show, but I was kind of paying attention to certain things. But when
Right,
you watch things like Izzy taking off, or the Green Ranger's taking off the skirt in isolation, and things like we're bringing back Lord Zed as like a main villain, it doesn't fill you with a whole lot of confidence. So I was really dreading going back into this show, because everything that I looked at, that I saw from it from the outset, looked like I was going to hate it.
right. And we did for a little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
the first three episodes are just painful, dude. Man, I don't
yeah,
know what the
they're
hell
pretty bad.
none of the characters are well defined. Like they don't light up the same way that Tyler did,
Yeah,
especially
you think that's
Zato.
what?
Oh
Well, I
my
mean,
god.
I will say that like for Dino Charge specifically, I think they got good actors, and
You think they lucked out?
it'd be tough because I think that for Dino Charge, Beast Morphers, and to a lesser extent Megaforce, like all those guys, all those crews, like those casts were really strong. They
Yeah.
kind of understood what their role was, but like even people like to give Andrew Gray guff about it, but even he understood like what his role was, and I
Right.
just like it's so interesting going
They all
into this
wanted to be
show.
there,
Like
and it's very obvious.
I think that was kind of like a byproduct of Ninja Steel, because when that show started, especially with the way the aesthetic looked, it just seemed like a grab bag of ideas. Like
Yeah.
we have the alien guy, and then we have the pink one, and then the blue guy, he's a magician, so that's the guy that we have as like the most characterized out of everybody. And then we introduced
That's
the
not true.
couple, which is Calvin and Haley later.
Yeah, the best characters on the show.
Yeah, but
In
yeah, I do
addition,
think it's kind of a holdover. I do think it's kind of a holdover of like the Ninja Steel problem, because there was just no real solid direction between those characters, and no real distinction for them as people. And part of that might have been because of the sudden casting change. But to their credit, I think the guy who ended up playing Calvin did as much as he could to make that work.
right. I don't think he was bad in the show at all.
I don't think
In
so
fact,
either.
they're probably the strongest characters as far as the Rangers as a whole, so it's
Yeah,
hard to be
yeah.
mad at them. But I try not to blame the actors for why the show doesn't work. Ninja Steel was
Well,
a
no,
different.
I just meant that like in terms of the way the show is written, like
No,
they didn't
I
give
get
those
you.
guys any help,
That's what I'm
is what
saying.
I'm saying. Like for Megaforce, for Beast Morphers, for Dino Charge, like those guys had help. The script helped them out to
I
kind of
would
be able to
say
play
Dino Charge is
within
probably in that
their.
camp, but writing just not helping them at all.
Well, I will say that like because Tyler
Because
and Shelby, who
yeah,
start us off, they're written really well
to
at the
start,
very beginning. Yeah. Well,
to
that's what I'm
start,
saying. Like that's kind of the issue with all of these shows, is like to start, we all have a good baseline to success, right?
yeah,
But
we
the
should.
issue with those shows was that there was just no concrete follow through.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm saying. Like,
With Ninja Steel and Dino Fury, like those had an issue of like, well, they don't really like, you can feel how uncertain they are
I
with
don't
their
think we give
characters.
Beast Morphers enough credit. Like we always constantly just skip over the show. It's like, yeah, whatever, it's Power Rangers. But that's the thing, like it was so much better than Ninja Steel as a whole.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But
That's what I'm saying. I'm putting that in the category because like everybody for those characters, they started in a solid place. Like every single one of them. Our three Rangers were very unique, very well defined characters in their own right at the beginning. And then
right.
you had Nate, who was also introduced at the beginning, and he's kind of different in the way that the other characters react because he is the mentor, quote unquote, figure until Steel shows up, and Steel's got such a wildly different personality from everybody else. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the way that everybody plays off. They are allowed to play off of each other because of how the show's written.
Sure. I don't know if it's necessarily how the show's written and more to do with how they are as actors. They have to create that chemistry with each other because they're a team. They understand the assignment here.
No, I know, but if you look at them, like at the first, like because Devin, Ravi, and Zoe, like they started in isolation of each other.
Right.
So they have their own individual things going on. We don't really get that with Dino Fury
Not at first.
or with Ninja Steel at
And
first. We
definitely
get it
not
with
at Ninja
literally
Steel.
we get it with almost every other show because like the thing that helped Dino Charge was the starting off with just Tyler and Shelby. So we defined these two characters solidly, and then we can move on and build kind of outward.
I guess because Coda and Chase were both also there. We talked about it
They
earlier.
were, but they were not defined.
They weren't. Well, they were kind of
I would
defined.
say I would say Chase is more defined than Kodo was, but the whole thing
Right.
about Kodo being caveman doesn't come up until later.
Right. I was gonna say that's a big reveal kind of thing,
Yeah,
which I dig the way they handle it in the first
but
episode,
that's what I'm
especially.
saying for like Ninja Steel. Like the only character really that we had solid was Brody, like he was a fully formed character,
There's two,
and
yeah,
we
in a
didn't
very
have
like
like
base level.
we didn't have a solid like base ground level for who Sarah was. We got an interest out of Preston, which he likes magic.
Right.
And like, but
That
the
defines
issue
his
with that,
character.
of course, is like you have those guys being introduced at the same time as Victor and Monty, who are incredibly well defined
Oh,
and still not utilized perfectly. But I'm just
I was
saying that
gonna
like
say,
in comparison, they're more defined than Preston and Sarah was.
even Calvin and Haley get a lot of like really good character definition, which is
Well,
why I'm
like it was
confused.
because they were introduced in isolation, like from away from everybody else. So that helped in like establishing their characters.
Sure. I guess that makes sense. The way Preston and Sarah are both introduced, it doesn't really leave anything open.
Well, because we didn't like there's whole there we don't I don't understand what Sarah's thing is at the beginning. It's not until later that it's like,
She
oh,
likes to go fast.
she likes to succeed. She's got this drive to success. They don't tell you that the way that the show decides to illustrate that is, oh, she's good at everything,
Right.
which
Nothing.
is not a
Everything always works out for her,
yeah, just because it
just
does.
because it does. But that's
Yeah,
become
it's
like a
kind of
Gold Ranger trope since then. Because Jesus Christ, Amelia, whew, she's
Pink
so
Ranger.
irritating, dude. Yeah,
Okay, you said
she's become
gold.
a. I said, huh?
You said Gold Ranger.
I said Gold Ranger.
Yeah, you
Pink
said Gold
Ranger
Ranger.
trope was what I thought I said.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like with Amelia, Ollie, and Zato, like characters were not well defined.
They
We
weren't
found out later from other characters who were much better at understanding their characters of like who they're supposed to be.
the ones who
Because
have personality.
Amelia's introduced as this character, like she wants to find the truth or whatever. She
Yeah, the truth.
believes in aliens
The
and
truth is out there.
specters, wants to find out the truth. They don't tell you that the reason why that is because her parents have
Right.
been missing or have
We have to
been
wait like
gone for
7
X amount
episodes.
of time.
No, wait, hold on. That doesn't come up for 11 episodes, dude.
And then you have Ollie, who is introduced as being kind of snarky, but he doesn't really know how to really deliver it in like a snarky manner. You don't find out till later that
Yeah,
he thinks he's smarter than everybody, so that's why he's like that. But again, there's
yeah,
just the show fumbling how to introduce characters, which is why
right.
when we get to Izzy and Hobby later, like they're a lot more better defined because they understand their assignment.
Yeah, yeah. The Zato doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing at any point. It's so
Yeah,
bizarre.
it's so weird. It's just
Like
bizarre.
he's
Like
he's
on
almost
top of the
childlike.
performance, on top of the performance not being super duper strong, like they
Yeah,
don't really give him a whole lot as far as he's just a
they do
man
though.
out of time.
Yeah, well, he's an alien out of time on a different planet,
Yeah.
but he still knows what a dog is. God damn it!
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
No, it's
Brody's the
weird,
worst.
man. It's such a bizarre. Um, I don't know, man. Because again, you don't get till like later what his deal is, and even then, when we find it out, it doesn't affect anything.
Right. It
Like, it's his
doesn't
whole thing
matter.
is like he led a group of Power Rangers in the far distant past, 65 million years ago. They all ended up dying. He's the
They
only one
died,
left. And you find out later from
quote
Ion that
unquote.
it's because of decisions that he made. Like they all died because he was leading them. So you would think that that would have some kind of impact on his character. It
We
does
already did that
absolutely not.
though. We already did
Yes.
it with Carter, so we don't have to do it again. Even though it's one
I
of the
mean,
best parts of Lightspeed Rescue.
it would help though, because like the way that Cosmic Fury defines all these characters is so wildly different, but that's mostly because the
Yeah,
handcuffs are off. Um,
yeah. I'm free.
but it's just so bizarre to look at it, like just looking at Dino Fury in isolation, because the show doesn't really have anything going for it. It's just
No.
kind of another Dino season,
Yeah.
and until Hobby and Izzy get introduced, and to a lesser extent, like I think the Mucus helps out a lot also. But
I mean, I wouldn't say to a lesser extent because she's definitely the best part of the show for me.
well, I just meant that like in terms of those first three episodes, because I don't remember if she's in a whole lot of them.
Oh, I think she gets introduced in episode 2. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I
But
think she is
I
introduced in
agree that
episode
the
two.
show doesn't really take off until Javi and Izzy are introduced. And then
Yeah.
for some reason, the Rangers get so much more personality and we care. It's weird for the most part.
Well,
I will say for the most
it
part.
helps when you're able to play off of people that understand their character,
Yeah.
because
And
then you
know
know
why
how to
we're here.
react. That's kind of the issue with Ollie and Amelia to start when they start doing the banter back and forth. It doesn't really play well because they don't sound confident in what they're saying,
Right. It doesn't sound natural
and
between them.
that is to a lesser extent with Zato as well, because the way that he's performing the way that his performance is, it just doesn't give you anything to play off of.
Yeah.
It's
Like
so bland.
every time he says something, it's so boring. Like it feels like it feels like he has to end every sentence with like a car brand
Yeah, yeah,
where
absolutely.
he's like, we'll figure it out together. Mazda. It's very it's very
That's pretty good. Yeah,
that's what it sounds like, dude. Like I don't know what the hell why he sounds just like a car commercial.
yeah. It's so bizarre, man. He's just got this commercial kind of performance, and for
Yeah.
him being the guy that's like majorly introduced in the first episode,
He's
and to
supposed to be a
have
Red
him come
Ranger.
out sounding like that's just not.
It's
It
not good.
doesn't instill a whole lot of confidence in me as a viewer. So
Right.
that's my nice way of
we
putting
can't
that.
we can't take this guy seriously as a leader because he's got no oomph. He's got nothing.
Yeah,
It's very bizarre. But I
yeah.
mean, Javi and
They
Izzy
give
when
him a
they come in.
backstory, but again, it doesn't lead to anything. All these
Well,
characters
because
get backstories, but they don't. It doesn't.
He
Like,
has the Brody problem where every time somebody says something, it changes the way his mood is in the scene, just like on a dime.
oh really?
Yeah, like whenever they're doing the whole signal thing,
Oh
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"I'm not." Somebody told me once to never give up. Calvin Klein. It was very strange.
He just needs text at the bottom every time he
Yeah,
finishes a
dude.
sentence.
Quaker Oats, for the love of God. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But it's funny
It's
because like I remember watching this show or seeing everybody's reaction to all this stuff and being like, oh, this is kind of I don't know if I'm gonna like this, and but everybody the consensus was this is all great.
yeah,
And I just don't
yeah.
know if like this show, particularly the first half of it, like the season one of Dino Fury, I don't think is strong because it has to do all of the Ninja Steel um,
The isms,
Beast Morphers stuff where it has to
right,
be handcuffed by Nickelodeon and by Saban and all that other stuff. Like
right down
this
to
show,
our
like when it
completely useless comic relief duo of Jane and
yeah
Jayborg,
yeah
who
I don't
they are
understand.
funny. I have to give
They
them
are funny.
props because they are funny, but
I
they're
don't think
not
you need them.
necessary at
I
all.
really don't think you need them. Like
You're right.
Mucus
You're
as a
absolutely
character
100%.
has so much personality
Yeah.
that she can carry all of the comedic beats by herself. I don't think you need anybody else to do that.
Well, also the Rangers do it just by themselves.
Yeah.
Like you remember the ending to the Superstition episode that we just watched, where Ollie does this make them laugh slapstick routine that lasts like 3 minutes too long.
Yeah. Well, you got to
We
end
can
with a
do stuff
joke.
like
Like that
that,
was one of those. That was one of those mandates from
we
Saban.
didn't need Jane and Jayborg for that. That's what I'm saying. Like it's
No, I
completely
agree. I agree.
confusing why they exist in the first place. Like
Yeah.
Victor and Monty were confusing. Like why were they there? But there's a reason they existed.
There was a consistency to them. Like there was no other kind of form of comic relief. Also, I hated the villains of Ninja Steel. I just hated looking at them. They were not particularly entertaining.
I mean,
It was just kind of the
Void Knight, dude.
Void Knight as a character is kind of weird. I will give you that.
He's just very uninspired, man. You want to talk about boring villains? Void Knight.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they were trying to veer so far away from the fact that this dude was supposed to be the Sixth Ranger that they put all this backstory together for him specifically so he doesn't end up there. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that. I think the idea of it being like a Transformers thing of like, oh, this is the end of the war. The war just got to Earth. The war that was on Ravcon, like it followed, like for both spoilers, I guess, for both
Yeah.
Zato and Void Knight to be from Ravcon specifically. Like I think there's an idea in that of like we could this is the last leg of their journey. The
But
show
it's
does not
redundant.
go that direction at all.
It's redundant
And
though
so
because when Ion shows up, he we know he's from Ravcon. They were all Ravconian, the original Rangers that Zato was
right.
leading. If he was leading them, I don't know. We don't ever go into that nearly as much as we should. But that's not surprising. If, you know, him being from Ravcon, just they wanted so hard to have him not be the Sixth Ranger because I'm sure that's where that character goes in the Sentai.
I don't know if he's in the Sentai.
I'm not
Like the
entirely
way that
sure.
he looks and the way that he just uses the Dino Fury powers, I think that might just be an original costume.
Interesting. I have
And
no
because
idea.
like Sledge was that way too. Sledge was not in the Sentai.
Right.
And I think they just kind of repurposed Heckle. I don't know if he's
American made
necessary.
villains.
Yeah.
I don't know. He seems very Japanese. It does heckle and snide by extension.
Yeah, I agree. You want to talk about that yet, or are we still focusing on Dino
Well,
Fury season?
I think we should talk about Dino Fury by itself and then Cosmic Fury later on by itself because they're two different shows, man.
Well, I would argue that this show is wildly different in its second half because it's solely on Netflix.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. There's a
because that
gradual.
is the
This
first.
is. It's kind of like the opposite of what happened with Wild Force. We start off in this really like dull episodic place, and then slowly it increases like until we get to the best episode of Power Rangers that we've ever seen.
I will say that's how MMPR goes.
Really
But MMPR had a stronger first episode, but that those first 17 until you get to the Green Ranger stuff it's pretty skippable.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't remember it taking that long.
Well, that's because that first episode is just so rock solid. Like it had a good foundation to build off of. It's just very episodic after that for the first 17.
But yeah. See, Dino Fury felt really confused. It really didn't have a clear idea of where they were going with this story.
Absolutely. I agree
Like, I
with that,
really
yeah.
dig the idea of the concept of Void Knight doing the whole Dr. Freeze thing. Of he's
Yeah.
trying to bring his wife back. The way he talks about her, though, especially in the first introductions of that character, you get the sense that she's supposed to be evil and he's supposed to be evil with her.
I am confused about that, but that's kind
Yeah.
of more or less the way that the show is written because like they do give him this kind of like sympathetic backstory. I don't really know why. Maybe it's
We don't know
because
why to start.
they had like a big idea of how like this all was going to end. But for him to be like once he revives her, again spoilers, and for her to just want soul revenge and being like the more evil out of the two, like I think that's an interesting kind of villain dynamic because we that has been a
Sure.
thing in Power Rangers before of like these guys that you release something that is much more evil than you are, and so now you have to kind of deal with that. Like that's just kind of a trope.
You
This
leave
isn't
Jared
really
alone.
this isn't really as well handled as I've seen it, obviously. But
Right.
that is kind of like
Well,
where we're at.
it feels confused. Like this is not where we were supposed to be going with this story, clearly. But we'll get there when we talk about it because we have to wait. Like I say, we have to wait until halfway through the first season to get Amelia's backstory about how her parents are gone or whatever. And even then, she doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
We got Pop for that for whatever reason.
Well, because like you look at the whole thing with Tyler, right? Like his introduction, he's like, I'm trying to figure out what happened to my father.
Right. Yeah.
So
And that's
right
why
from the
he's in this
beginning, we
cave.
have kind of an idea. Yeah. So
For
right from the
Zato, we
beginning,
don't
we kind
have
of have like
that.
an inkling. For everybody else, for Dino Fury, for Amelia especially, like it's just kind of she's just doing her job, and we see she has an
Right.
interest in that. But we don't really understand where that comes from.
Yeah.
There's not like a file sitting on her desk or whatever talking about the incident that because all that stuff is like incidental. It's mentioned, but it's not like focused on. Because like the Area 62 stuff, like that is a big deal in this city, and
Yeah.
plays a huge role in Amelia's backstory. And we don't really get any information on that
Nope.
outside of it's like an abandoned base that Void Knight inhabits. That's why I think that like if they were gonna go the way that they clearly ended this show, I think you needed a flashback.
Yeah, a few of them.
I think you needed a flashback, like nothing too concrete, something like a vague thing, but at
Right.
least so we can understand where we're going, right? Or at least what the point is.
And if
Because
you want to
on
do the reveal thing, that's fine. Whatever. Because we got characters to spare for who it could be who takes the baby
yeah,
out of the cave while it's exploding. You got Pop, you got Ollie's mom, you got Camp
oh
Counselor
yeah, for sure.
Garcia,
Yes, it's Park
Park
Ranger.
Ranger Garcia. Yeah, sorry, but
It's so
I
weird, man. Like even the parents are more defined than like those core three trio are. It's bizarre.
right. It's so weird. They don't care about these characters for some reason, and I don't know what that is. Because when Izzy and Javi come in, they clearly have a lot of focus on these characters. Like after we get the garbage explanation as to why Amelia likes ghosts, we get two back-to-back episodes that focus on Izzy and Javi, and then episode 14 we go into the Zed stuff.
Yeah, I think that somebody on staff, somebody had to have really wanted to tell the Izzy story.
Yes.
Like somebody really cared about that because it's the best written thing on the show.
Yeah, it sure is. Matchmaker's a great episode.
Yeah. I think for a while I had said that like Path of the Righteous is the peak, but like that Matchmaker was such a wild experience for me because like I was literally stunned, and you saw me too when we were watching it, just being like, I can't believe that this show was capable of still doing stuff like this because I didn't think that that was possible anymore.
I agree, but like
And it's
they're so it's so well done every time they do an episode with Izzy. Like I thought it when they did the Special Olympics episode in episode what was it 5?
I think it's 5.
I think it's episode 5, and it was not offensive. It was a good moral. I was real confused.
Yeah, I was
I had
because
no
you kind
idea.
of grit your teeth and cross your fingers and hope that this doesn't turn out badly because it could
Right.
obviously go a certain way, and luckily they were able to like maneuver pretty well and make sure that things were like respectful, which is very nice. You know?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I had no idea that this show could toe that line so well. Like Dino
Yeah.
Fury does morals that are really, really good for the most part. At the end of the
Yeah.
race episode, her dad's still like, "You can only prove you're the best by winning," and everybody's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "That's not a great moral, you guys."
Well, she's still competitive. That's the whole
It's
thing.
got sure. It's just it
Instilled in her.
undercuts their moral a little bit. Talking about you can only be the best if you're the best. All right,
Yeah.
but man, Matchmaker and by extension Super Hotshot were so crazy. Like you have Izzy joining the gym and finding out that the coach
Yeah.
is a douchebag, and then the matchmaker where Javi accidentally misinterprets Izzy's affections for one character, once for a different character, and
Yeah.
man, it's so good. I don't know why they're the
Yeah.
best part of the show.
Well, like I said, I think somebody really cared about that specifically.
Yeah, they really wanted to tell this story,
And
man.
with David Yost being a big part of like Cosmic Fury and also like being primarily like the leader of the Netflix special, like I kind of think he might have had some kind of hand in how
Oh, you
well
think
that stuff is handled. That's
I
what I would like to think. I'm not sure if that's true. I don't have any evidence to back that up, but that's what kind of what I would think.
I was gonna say I
That's kind of
don't
what I'm
care one
hoping
way or the
for.
other. It's just really well done, and I applaud whoever
Yeah,
put that shit together.
yeah, it's really solid stuff. But you had mentioned like Lord Zed.
Yeah,
When we get the return of Lord Zed in the Halloween special, I think you
yeah,
and I both had that reaction of like, this is good, but
yeah.
I hope it's not a one and done
We were
because
still guarded.
this is gonna be really upsetting if like he just never shows up because that's the thing that happened in Ninja Steel a lot.
Yep.
Where things would
Oh
be
well.
introduced and it'd be like, I can't wait to see what happens, and it doesn't matter at all
Yeah.
because that show was allergic to
Well,
like moving stories
it only
forward.
did it with the sledge the one time. Granted, it was the whole
Well, no,
season,
I just
but
meant that
still,
like because you had the fucking the 4 Ginyu Force guys that all died unspectacularly.
yeah.
And apparently, it was all part of the plan or
The
something.
Galactic Ninja.
Yeah.
I remember.
So
I was
I just,
there.
and then you have the whole thing with Lee Vaden and all of that stuff. It's
Uh,
just like a lot of really solid ideas that we just kind of hop skipped over because who wants intrigue? We just care
right.
about our cartoon.
And the fight scene, the Megazord fight specifically.
Yeah.
But Old Foes was, it still was a, it had a slight deviation to the actual story, because the entire thing is that Ollie's not afraid of anything,
Yeah.
even though their whole thing is that it's okay to be afraid, Ollie, and he's like, I'm not afraid, and they're like, we're friends here, or whatever. It didn't make any
Yeah.
sense, because like they put him through the haunted house thing, and then when Zed shows up, like that's a formidable threat. That's the point where he learns how to be afraid. Troll
Yeah.
hunters, rule number 1: always be afraid.
I should give that show another watch. I haven't seen it
It's great.
in a hot minute.
It's
Oh,
pretty good.
I know. I know. It's fantastic.
I
I
love it.
loved that show. The way that it ended. I didn't watch the rest of the Arcania trilogy.
But then Dino Fury takes it a step further, where Ollie's like, "Yeah, no, I got him. Let me get out. Don't take me out,
Yeah.
coach." And Solon's like, "No, dude, you have no idea what this guy.
Yeah.
This guy will cut you in half."
It's such an interesting because like the way they treat Zed, they that is the thing that like I just want you to pay attention. Like Goldar, when he came back, was such a wildly different character that I just wasn't. That's where my trepidation was in bringing Zed back. Like, oh,
Oh,
you
sure.
couldn't do Gold. Like, we haven't done Goldar right in like however many decades,
Jesus, yeah. Since Zio, I guess.
and like, and I'm counting the movie in that because like 2017,
Yeah,
and also like what happened in Beast Morphers. Like those,
yeah.
it's just we haven't done
I
Goldar correctly.
That's fair.
I don't
I
understand
get
because
you.
it's not a difficult character at all.
Not at all.
But
But
for like Lord Zed, like they really like they put the menace back in that guy, which
they
is
sure did.
wild to me.
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
like
Like,
I like watched In Space a few days ago, or at least yeah, and seeing Zed in the first episode of From Out of Nowhere, he's so like useless
right? And they
because he
use,
doesn't he stops Rita from getting into a fight with Deepatox. He doesn't really react or try to attack Andros when they find out that he's a spy and has infiltrated this big meeting among all the evil people. So he's just kind of there. He just kind of stands around. He says a few things. He's just kind of living life, right?
yeah,
But this guy, like when he shows up, and that's kind of the joke that I'm going to make in the review, like he's like mad, like the dude is just huge, and so like when
yeah.
he shows up, you just kind of
See,
look
that's
at
the
him and be like,
thing.
dude, man, dude got jacked after the divorce, man.
Yeah, yeah. Because you kind of notice it especially from like the mutiny to anything done in Turbo, and you see the character difference. Like he looks kind of like he's made out of claymation.
Well, I think he's
Like he's
only
just
in
so
that one scene in Turbo, which is the movie. I think
well.
that's the
I
only
just
time he
mean
ever shows up.
you can see the cartoonisms that they added to the design
Yeah,
to make it less horrifying for the children.
yeah,
And then you see him in Dino Fury, and they really kind of took it back to form, right?
yeah. To take it back
It's
to
not,
how this character was conceived in first, and like when
yeah,
he's
he's
by
still
himself,
dry,
and he's pissed off, like
and he's
that's a
pissed
Zed
the
we've
whole time.
never seen.
Yeah. Oh man, it was
Because
so
like
good.
even in the fight with Tommy that Zed has in like MMPR season 3, like
Yeah.
he's not taking that seriously. He could kill this guy, Tommy, who's the best ranger
Yeah.
on the show,
The Power
strongest
Ranger.
ranger on the show,
Yeah.
and Zed is like, I don't need.
What is
Fine,
this?
you want to play? We can play. I'd like to have fun. All right,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's have some good times, man.
Yeah.
But dude,
Oh
just to
man.
see him just like as soon as that compliance collar comes off, and to see him just go to town on both those monsters, literally taking them both out in one punch is wild. Because like
Yeah.
I always find it funny that like Zed being like this big iconic villain, we never really saw how
Yeah.
strong he is. We
Oh
saw
yeah.
what he can, like spurts of what he can do and how menacing he is to the other characters, but we never really saw how strong that guy actually is. How he can
And
just
Dino
snap his
Fury.
fingers and kill someone.
Right. And Dino Fury does a great job at building that up. Like
Yeah,
as soon as Zed comes in, they're like, "We are so screwed, you don't even know."
yeah. You have no earthly idea.
Solon, especially, they're just like, "Oh man, this is awful.
Well,
This is
I
the worst
think because
possible
like
thing that could have happened to us."
I think they talked about it in Beast Morphers, like when they were trying to decide who to bring back. They were like, "We can bring back Lord Zed." They're like, "No, don't. We don't want that smoke. You don't understand. Like
I remember
if
them
that
talking
guy
about
gets loose, we're all screwed." So like,
right, and
yeah,
they found out the hard way in Dino Fury, and man, it sets
yeah,
up for some really cool stuff in Cosmic Fury. Holy
yeah.
shit, it's
It's so
wild.
good. It's so good. It's like one of my favorite things.
It's so good. Wow.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, we have to do the rest of the freaking Dino Fury stuff, which we have to introduce Ion, which my god.
Yeah. I will say
Woo!
in this show that really started out with bad characters to introduce your sixth ranger and have him be the worst one did kind of
Right.
create this lightning rod effect of like, oh, all of the stupid goes right into him, and so
It is
everybody
what
else
happens.
kind of benefits from him being just a complete idiot.
Right, especially Ollie for some reason. Like that's when Ollie gets likable is because Ion is
Yeah,
so unlikable as a person. He just
yeah,
every time Ollie tells him off, you're like, yeah, dumbass.
yeah.
Honestly.
It is great, and it's just such a weird like the way that Ion is introduced as being like I want to be the leader because you're responsible for all of this going wrong in the first place, and this is all your
Right.
fault. And then after that's done with, and he realizes he's not a good leader, we just forget about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though it's like a huge plot point. That's the point where we find out Zato is responsible for the deaths of his other comrades, the other Rangers.
Yeah, for unleashing the Sporix onto the universe.
Right.
And like that's the thing that led to the demise of his planet and how much guilt he feels in that, which again is a thing that is not foreshadowed at all before that moment. Which again,
Right.
just pay attention. That's all I want. Just if you're gonna do something, don't do something just to do it. You have to like actually
Right.
live. You have to actually like create building blocks. Make sure there's
Yeah.
steps to get from point A to point B.
Otherwise, when the stuff happens, we don't care, and it just seems lazy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is where we were going the whole time. No, this is a fallback plan. Something happened that made it to
Yeah.
where you have to do this. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, because they introduced this whole thing about like Ion getting like because I think that's the catalyst. Zed's return is the catalyst that causes Ion to be woken up in the first place. Is that right?
Uh, no, it was the Ninja Nexus Prism.
Oh, okay, okay, right.
That's why it went
Because
into the
that's
lake,
when it,
and then it caused the storm overhead, and that's what ultimately woke
okay.
Ion up.
I was just wondering about that because like I know that there's that whole thing with like the Morphin Master telling him specifically, telling Ion
Yeah.
specifically, like we need you to defeat Lord Zed, and
How
I don't
messed up would it
understand
be
that.
if I think the original idea was he's supposed to die, but we can't do that on
Oh,
Nickelodeon.
yeah, maybe. I mean, because there was a lot of death in Troll Hunter, so maybe you could be right.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, after that
Netflix don't play.
ridiculousness, yeah, because Ion comes in and he's like, "I'm the one that my Morphin Masters chose me to carry out my destiny. That means I'm the leader for an
Yeah,
episode."
yeah.
I don't even remember what happens.
I
And then
think
he's like, "Oh,
I
never
don't.
mind.
It was
Being a
the
leader's
whole
hard. You
thing
do
was
it."
dumb. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I'm not really cut out for it, so you do it. It's fine. I'll trust you." And then he just becomes Zato's friend.
Yeah.
That is his whole character. I'm your
No,
best
he becomes
friend
Ollie's best friend for whatever
for like an
reason.
episode or two.
He thinks
Because
they're
Ollie's got
best
more
friends,
important things to
dude.
do. Yeah, no, he does think they're best friends.
It's tremendous. It makes for
Yeah.
great comedic moments. I'm just saying. Oh yeah, and then we get it straight into filler right up until the 3-part finale because we
Oh
have
yeah,
the thing where Izzy's bad at inventing. I don't know what the fuck, and
yeah.
then the makeover with Pop where they switch bodies, and I only remember that they switch
Oh
bodies because of what happens later. Oh my
yeah,
god, it's so stupid.
yeah, yeah.
How could they, man? I'm gonna go off on this finale for real. Ah,
I'm excited, man. I'm excited for it, honestly.
that might have to be a separate video because man,
Oh really?
these season one is just that's the reason like I'm so lackluster on Dino Fury as a whole. Season one is just so boring. Like it has
Yeah.
flashes of brilliance, but as a whole season, I could probably recommend 5 of these episodes.
So the last episode of Dino Fury season one, that's the one where they supposedly kill Void Knight, right?
I think that's episode 21.
That's where they like,
Yes, that's where
that's where he
Void
like
Knight disappears.
he like tries to tap into the Morphin Grid and use their powers against them or something like that, and they
Yeah,
or no, he's trying to use the Morphin Grid power to open the box
to
to
open the
free his
box. Yeah,
wife.
and then he
Yeah.
explodes.
And then they stop him and it explodes, and so he's dead, obviously.
Yeah, he should be dead.
Yeah.
But
It's a
before that,
bomb.
we got Ion and Zato on an alien planet fighting their dead comrades.
Yeah. It's very Doctor Who, the whole thing.
It's very Doctor Who. I was gonna say, like, it's insane. What the hell? And you know
Yeah,
what?
it's weird.
Fine. That was built somewhat regularly throughout the show, right? Even if you take
Yeah.
Zato's terrible brooding acting, where he just sits
Does
there
he
and like
have
looks at a
brooding
thing.
acting? Does he? I don't remember him
It
like because he's
feels
not like Brody. Brody was like brooding in certain places, but he would just kind of look mad. Like
right.
I,
That's what
I
I was
never
gonna
saw
say.
Zato with any kind of other face. The dude just
Yeah,
looks the same all the time. He's like a cardboard cutout. You bring him on
yeah,
the set, you hit the speaker button. He's like, "Yes, we are here to stop you. It's morphing time."
yeah. Ford, Bill Ford,
Yeah,
tough. Jesus Christ, it's really
yeah.
bad, dude. But that's what I'm saying. Like
It was
he would
bad.
just kind of like sit there and have no expression on his face and look at the Rock. Like, yes, the Rock.
Yeah, yes. You got it, Jim. I don't know what to
And
do.
then he would
Doesn't really
sometimes
matter,
walk around
honestly.
talking about, I can't do anything right.
Yeah,
Repeater. It doesn't make any
it's
sense.
weird. It's
It's
so
so
weird. It's a bizarre thing.
it doesn't make any sense for the Red Ranger as a character, but like if you're gonna do
That's
it,
what happens at the end of it, right? Because like all of them get captured, right? Isn't that what
right,
it
right.
is?
They get
They all
strapped
get
to a
captured
bomb.
except for Ollie. He tries
Yeah,
to free them. It explodes. They all lose their powers. That's how his
yeah.
mom finds out who he is. It's actually a solid Ranger reveal, honestly.
I agree. I agree. The show does good things, but man, for
Yeah,
a lot of the time it's just filler and
it's well,
it's
it's a lot
boring.
of filler, and it's just really dumb because like you and I kind of
Right.
noticed where like literally in every episode, someone it doesn't matter who, someone will say something either nonsensical or really stupid.
Yeah. I don't
Just
even know if it's
once,
in
one
this
time at the
season.
very least in every
Uh,
episode,
Amelia
somebody will
has the
say something
worst.
stupid.
Amelia has the worst one out of all of them, and I can't
Yes,
remember
he
if it's
does.
in this season or if it was in the second season of Dino Fury.
I think it's second season
I think it's season two.
I do remember it being like a late thing, but like
Yeah.
literally that's an everyone problem.
Yes, it
Luckily,
is.
like Izzy and Javi are kind of protected from stuff like that, so they don't really they're at least trying to sell it. So it sounds a
Sort
little
of.
bit more credible, but it just kind of depends. But somebody, I don't really know who, just somebody at random will say something
Yeah.
stupid in every episode.
Everybody
Like
takes turns.
in the middle of like a ranger fight or doing ranger things, they'll just say
It is like
something.
a
They'll just
quip
be like,
thing, right?
"What? Huh?"
Yeah. It is a quip thing for sure.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely.
Where they just say something because you have to say something here and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
goes back to the Red Ranger dialogue in RPM, dude. Like, come on.
Well, no, it's
We have
also the
been
Red
through
Ranger
this.
dialogue in Ninja Steel. Like I hated the Brody dialogue in fight scenes because it was so
No,
stupid. Like all of
no,
it.
less is more. That's what I'm saying.
I agree. I agree.
Ah, but oh yeah, hold on. They had this after they do the whole thing and everybody loses their powers. We get the Secret
Yeah.
Santa episode. I don't remember the Christmas episode.
Secret Santa episode.
Yeah, the Netflix says.
I remember Mucus and Slither, but I don't
Best part of the
remember
show,
what else
dude.
happens. I honestly don't remember what else happens.
It says while the Rangers fight to get Santa's magic sketchbook back from the villains, Javi and Solon are
Oh,
caught in a trap. Will they escape? Question mark.
oh, that's right. That's when they're trapped in the base, and he's got to find the detonator for the bomb so he can deactivate it or whatever.
I don't remember.
He's got to open up everybody's gifts and being like, "Oh, this is actually a really thoughtful gift from so and so because of this happened in this flashback."
Oh, clip show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember
A lot of
that.
old hat. Like we don't, I don't think we got a clip show in season 2. Like once we moved over to
I don't think
Netflix, we
so
kind of just
either.
got rid of all of that stuff.
I really wish we had gotten one instead of what happens, but my God, I'm gonna go off on a tangent on that one, and I really don't
Just
want to
do
take
the
another hour.
just do the flashbacks of how it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Especially
really
on
fun.
rewatch, dude. Like season one, the
Oh,
when you know where
it's
the story
bad
is
on
going,
rewatch.
it's so
Mhm.
much worse on rewatch
I
because
will
you
say,
realize they had no idea
I
what
think
the hell they were doing.
that first episode is like might be the worst, just in terms of like retroactive, how much it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. Like it has nothing to do with nothing, and it doesn't set up where we're going at all.
No, it doesn't.
Ugh, it makes
Because
me
like say what you
angry.
will about Megaforce, we at least started with like we know where the end is.
Right.
Yeah,
See, if we had had the cave thing at the beginning of the show, then yeah, I probably could have gotten behind it at any point.
yeah,
Especially if you want to do the whole who's the baby. Javi could easily be the
yeah,
baby.
absolutely.
Izzy could have
Because they
easily
introduced
been the
this
baby.
like the idea of like them being step siblings, and like why would you talk about? Why would you even say that if it
Yeah.
doesn't lead to
And
anything?
why does Park Ranger Garcia hate Javi so much? Because that dude
Yeah,
hates that kid for some reason.
yeah, I don't get it.
Ah,
That's one of those story arcs that I'm like, this could have been so much stronger. Because I do agree with you that Javi, in comparison to Izzy, is not really utilized to his fullest potential.
right.
Even like with the stuff that we do later, he's probably the character that we do the least with Cosmic Fury.
Yes, absolutely. But everybody still gets something to do in Cosmic
Yeah,
Fury, which we will talk about that a little bit later on because I really would like to rewatch. I got through at least most of Dino Fury before we got to talking about it. That's why I know what the hell's going on. But I think we after we were done with this show, we were just so ready to get to the next thing. Like, when's Zed coming back?
yeah. I think I had the kind of inkling of like because Cosmic Fury was so short that like that he's gonna be the big bad for that show.
Right.
And we're not going to see him again really until then. He shows up in season 2 of Dino Fury, which I didn't expect in the big like crossover episode, quote unquote crossover episode. I'm really not sure. We did get a status update. He may
Oh.
have killed all the Beach Rovers Rangers.
They're all dead. That's why Commander Shaw
Yeah,
had to come back.
yeah.
I can see that happening.
That would be rough, honestly, if that was the
There'd
case.
be a lot. I mean,
Uh,
Digimon Tri opens with all of the Zeo Rangers dead.
is that how it opens? They just killed everybody in O2?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
hell! Rewatch it.
Spoiler alert: they
I
were
think do you
not
have
dead.
it here or is it on Tubi? Is it on streaming?
It's on Tubi. You can watch it on the Tubi
Okay.
on the streaming, and then
I'll
I'll get to
probably
watching season 2 of Dino Fury. But I think we're I think we're kind of in the Beast Morphers camp with Dino Fury season 1. It's good, but it could be better.
Well, I would say that it's got a lot of like what you said. There's good things that they're doing, but
Yeah,
the overall package is just kind of there.
it's whack. Uh,
Yeah.
they don't really know where they're going. It feels like tentative. They're trying to keep it open to what they can do for when they get to Netflix. But
Yeah.
that kind of creates this confusion about the show of what it feels like it wants to be about.
Well, it's so interesting because like when they get to Netflix, that change happens like that.
Yeah,
It's
it
such a
sure does.
weird. It's like we've been in cruise control this whole time, and finally we're able
Yeah,
to take it off and just drive. That's
yeah,
why Cosmic Fury moves at such a clip because they're just
yeah.
trying to do everything. And to their credit, man, most of it works.
Most of
So,
it works right up until the finale, but oh my god, we're gonna talk about that next time.
but yeah,
I
we'll
don't
talk
want to take
about Dino
another hour.
Fury season
Season
2. It'll be
2.
fun. It'll be a fun time. So join us next time on the Power Chamber podcast. I'm
Yeah,
Nick, aka Iron
I'm
Man
Ice Chip Andy.
1983. May the Power Chamber protect you.
Season 2 coming soon. A lot sooner than you think, probably.